Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal Wednesday. If you guys happen to be tuning in on a Thursday, hopefully you guys are having a great start to your Thursday as well. So we've got a lot to get into on today's show, and make sure we got audio going on first, though. All right, we're good to go. So we got some stuff to get into on today's show. Lots of stuff has happened and gone down in the boxing world since Monday's show. And on top of that, just to give you guys a quick preview, we're going to be getting into all the different topics as well. Then on Friday's show, I'm not going to have a show tomorrow. I'm actually going to be going live with Max Kalismo. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. We'll be talking on a little bit of a collab. I'm not sure exactly what you want to call it, but we'll be going live tomorrow on that platform. And then on Friday, we'll be back live. We'll do a fight preview and different stuff along those lines. So that's what we got in store for the rest of the week. But as for today's show, lots of boxing news to get into, and I mean a lot. Bud Crawford gets stripped. Obviously, Janibek has his PED failed test. That fight's off now. Lots of stuff to digest in that regards. But as always, I want to hear your guys' thoughts and comments. So make sure to leave your thoughts, leave your comments in the chat, and I'll make sure to have your guys' comments pop up on the screen, and we'll go back and forth in that regard. So if you guys are also tuning in on YouTube, make sure to smash that likes button. I always greatly appreciate that, and that helps out with the show as well. Without further ado, though, let's get right to it. So there's so many places I can start off with. We're just going to kick it off with this. The WBC convention went down this past week, and we found out a few different things. First off, Conor Benn, remember, just beat Chris Eubank Jr. at 160. He was ranked as the #1 contender in the welterweight division. Interesting. Obviously, he's not fought there in quite some time, but he's now officially going back to 147. We'll see if he can make that weight. But he's going down to 147, #1 contender. And on top of that, we're not done yet. The Conor Benn has now been named the mandatory. WBC has named Conor Benn as the mandatory challenger for the winner of the Ryan Garcia-Mario Barrios WBC welterweight title fight. All right, lots to unpack here. I've said this multiple times. When Conor Benn went out there and defeated Chris Eubank Jr., due to who he is as a brand in the sport of boxing, but also he's a very talented fighter, he was going to get himself in position for a big fight. And here's what I think we're going to look at now. The odds are quite high that Ryan Garcia will defeat Mario Barrios when they fight each other on February 21st. When that happens, Ryan Garcia becomes world champion, and you either position yourself for a Ryan Garcia-Devin Haney rematch, which I think could be huge as a unification, or you now have Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn. Now, I get it. There is going to be a lot of people that's going to go out there and complain about Ryan Garcia getting this opportunity to fight for a world championship and then become world champion. And then people are going to go out there and complain about Conor Benn. Is he worthy of a world championship shot and being mandatory right away? All right, y'all can complain all you guys want. Here's the facts. Boxing is a business. Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn are two of the biggest brands in all the sport at this current moment in time. A possible world championship fight between Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn will do huge numbers. Whether you place that fight in the UK or in the USA, both places would sell out and have a massive audience. And let me just point this out as well. The fight, I'm sure, would be entertaining, but the build-up process of a Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn fight would be absolutely top tier. I'm not sure you could put together two guys that would make a better build-up process than Conor Benn and Ryan Garcia. So let's move aside the boxing politics. A lot of stuff goes into that. But when we strictly look at the boxing business aspect, of course it's going to happen. 147 sucks as a weight class, and you have two massive names. Both could be fighting for world championship in 2026, and I would not be shocked to see this happen. And honestly, I would be ecstatic to see this fight happen. We need some more juice at 147, and I know one way to spice it up and really get that juice going is to have the winner, Ryan Garcia-Mario Barrios, which would likely be Ryan Garcia, go out there and defend that belt against Conor Benn. That's how you spice up the weight class. That's the fight I want to see at 147. I think it'd be quite interesting, to be honest with you guys. So yes, hopefully we do get Ryan Garcia and Conor Benn in 2026, probably about summertime. All right, here's the one, and guess what? I'm sick and tired of having these rants, but this one's well-deserved. Janibek has delivered an adverse analytical finding for a performance-enhancing drug following a VADA test. Sources tell the Ring Mike Coppinger. Meldonium is used to increase endurance and reduce fatigue. That's the drug he tested positive for. And on top of that, Janibek's middleweight unification fight with Arislandi Lara on Saturday is now off. And what's going to happen? Well, Lara will now face Johan Gonzalez on Saturday night. All right. Props to Lara for still going in the ring. He's going to still fight this weekend. I think he should get an easy win against Johan Gonzalez. And props to that man for stepping up as well. Here's the facts. Janibek testing positive for a drug that is very hard to get your hands on, and the likelihood of it being a contamination is slim to none, is absolutely inexcusable and embarrassing. You're going to go in there and fight one of the oldest champions we've had in boxing history, and right now he's the oldest champion in all of boxing, and you're going to juice up on some steroids. What a shame. You know, Janibek, let me just be honest about this. This has been a man who has not been able to land big fights for multiple reasons, one of which is his branding is not very good. Not many people are going to look at him as somebody that can say, okay, I can make some money off of him. There's no money in a Janibek fight. Secondly, there's already been financial problems with his business side in terms of his fights. We had the whole issue earlier this year where the man he fought in that ring did not get paid properly. That's been a big cause of concern. And now we look at this situation, and Janibek, you finally get the fight you've been waiting for. You get your unification. You get a fight against Laura. We've given you props for this. And what do? You want to go juice up against the oldest world champion in all boxing right now with a drug that is almost impossible to get your hands on, and I highly doubt it could ever have been contaminated. And guess what? This drug is clearly used as a performance enhancement. It is used to increase endurance and reduce fatigue. Perfect for the sport of boxing. Absolutely embarrassing, though. You blew your opportunity. And if I were the people in charge of this right now, I think Janibek, if this is officially proven, which I believe it will be, he should be stripped of both his belts. And you know what happens if he loses his belts? He loses all value. And that's what I think needs to happen. And beyond that, this man should be suspended for many, many years. This is always my stance for each and every single fighter that tests positive for PEDs. And it's no different for Janibek. But the problem for Janibek is this. He already does not sell well. And on top of that, there's financial issues behind his name and his team. And now you talk about coming off a suspension. You're not going to find fights in the future. Absolutely embarrassing that he would take this great opportunity and throw it down the drain. Embarrassing. This man was out here talking about being the boogeyman. No, everybody wants to avoid him. Well, now, guess what? I think we're starting to see why people want to avoid you. You don't pay well. You don't make anybody money. And now on top of that, you are a drug-cheating man. And those type of guys have no business being in the sport of boxing. They should be removed immediately. And I hope that is what happens to Janibek. Now, we'll see what happens, but absolutely embarrassing situation right here. Absolutely ridiculous. So, yes, this massive unification fight that was supposed to go down on Saturday still is a solid card, but this was one of the main attractions. It is now off, and we're going to have Arislani Laura go out there and defend his belt. Props to him. It should be a fine fight. He'll probably knock him out pretty shortly, but what a ridiculous thing. Way to just blow your career and blow your payday. And on top of that, props to Top Rank. If you guys don't know the storyline behind this, Janibek was supposed to go board his plane. The test results come in. Top Rank axes those plane plans, keeps him at home, and guess what? I would not be surprised to see Top Rank be completely moved off of this Janibek era because it's been atrocious. Absolutely embarrassing. Sick of these drug cheats. And I'm just going to go off on this again. Can we seriously grow up in this boxing world? What is up with these guys doing drug cheats? And I'm just going to throw it out there too, because if you guys are not well aware, let's go down my notes. I'm going to talk about this actually on the end, but who cares? On that same card, Elijah Garcia was supposed to be making his return to the ring. And guess what? That fight is also now canceled. Why? Alexis Gayton pulled out of the bout, but sources have now come out and said the reason he pulled out of the fight is because guess what? Long and behold, this man also failed his PED test as it came back positive. I mean, seriously, what in the world is going on right now? How difficult is it for guys to take the most dangerous sport in the world seriously? Why is it such a big problem? Why can people not just go out here and just adhere to the rules? I mean, seriously, for Janibek, once again, you're fighting the oldest world champion in all boxing. Yeah, it was going to be a tough fight. But guess what? You want to go up there and juice up? You guys are doing the most dangerous sport in all the world. And yet, there seems to be more problem with juicing in boxing right now than any other sport in the world. How is that? And why is that? It should be a shame. Just ridiculous. I'm sick of talking about these things. Almost every week we're having PED failed test issues. And once again, here comes a big fight week. And multiple guys are blowing it. Just ridiculous. Chris Eubank Jr., he released a video saying that he's going to take some time out of the boxing to address health issues as he has been dealing with this past year. All right. I do encourage you guys, because this video, what I'm going to say right now is not going to make a lot of sense unless you guys go check out the video he posted. Yeah, he didn't look very good. And I don't know when that video was posted, whether that was after the second rematch, in between the two fights early in the year. I don't know when it was posted. Here's the truth. Chris Eubank Jr. put himself through a horrendous weight cut 2 times this year. The man should have been at 168. He squinched his body down to 160 so he can fight Conor Benn. Yes, he got paid very well, but I want to say this about Chris Eubank Jr. The way he's looking right now at his age, the health issues he's been talking about, I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Chris Eubank Jr. in the ring again. But I want to make this very clear. Chris Eubank Jr. is a warrior. This man was financially set his entire life. He never had to go step foot in the ring. He chose to do this. And one thing you cannot take away from Chris Eubank Jr. is that this man is an absolute warrior. This man has extreme heart. And on top of that, he's gone to have a very successful boxing career as well, especially when you look at it at large. And when you see what this man has gone through to give us entertaining fight after entertaining fight, all I can do is say hats off to this man and show respect to him. Because look at this video right here, and we just noticed that this man put himself through extreme issues and situations health-wise to be able to entertain fans. He never had to do this. He never had to go step foot in a boxing ring. He chose to do this. He still went out there and did the best he possibly could, and yet he didn't have to do that. That's what you call heart right there. You don't see too many guys with the heart that Chris Eubank Jr. has when they are financially set. So hats off to this man. He's a true warrior, and if we never see Chris Eubank Jr. in the ring again, I appreciate him for what he's done for us. I appreciate the entertainment, and hopefully he makes the right decision based upon his body moving forward because he's earned it. He does not need to step up back in the ring if he doesn't want to. He's earned the right to retirement and enjoying the rest of his life. So hats off to this man for what he has done for boxing. Ben Whittaker. He is now ranked number 3 in the WBC. WBC convention matchroom successfully pushed for Ben Whittaker to move up 6 spots from number 9 to number 3 following his knockout win this past weekend. Whittaker did capture the WBC silver title with his first round KO over Benjamin Gavazzi on Saturday. On top of that, Buatsi Whittaker has now been ordered. The WBC ordered the number 2 and number 3 contenders, Buatsi and Ben Whittaker, to meet in a final eliminator for David Benavidez' WBC light heavyweight world title. Okay, lots to unpack here. I'll start off with this. Is Ben Whittaker deserving of the number 3 spot currently? No, he's not. But has there been endless guys in boxing that's been undeserving of high rankings before? Absolutely. It's the boxing political game that I already talked about earlier in the show. So when you talk about a man like Ben Whittaker, is he ready for a mandatory shot against even a man like Joshua Buatsi? That's questionable. And to be honest with you, I don't think the fight's going to happen anytime soon. Here's my outline I'd like to say. For Buatsi, and I talked about this on last week's show, I think Buatsi and Anthony Yarde finally need to happen. It's the right time to make it. Now, not as good as it once was, but it's still the right time to make it. And for Ben Whittaker, this man could stay active. Go and make 2 or 3 more fights against guys that are quickly leveling yourself up so that by mid to end of 2026, you are ready for the fight against maybe even the winner of Buatsi Anthony Yarde. And if you go forth and win that fight, it would be a mega fight showdown against David Benavidez for that world championship. That's the route I would honestly say he would push for. But let me make this very clear. It is clear that Matchroom is currently trying to line Ben Whittaker up for a fight against David Benavidez. I'm just going to be honest with you guys right here. I'm not a big fan of that. Now, don't get me wrong. Could Ben Whittaker maybe make for a competitive fight one day in the future? Sure. But if Matchroom is trying to make Ben Whittaker fight David Benavidez within the next calendar year, there's going to be serious issues. I like Ben Whittaker. But you can't sit up there and tell me that Ben Whittaker is anywhere near the level of being ready to fight a man like David Benavidez. Benavidez is a bad man. And if we were to see Benavidez and Whittaker step foot in the ring together, I think we all know the results of that fight. So if I were Matchroom, I would slowly progress Ben Whittaker along the lines of getting build-up fight after build-up fight. Remember, this man's only about 11 fights into his career. Go fight the winner of Buatsi Anthony Yarde. And if he wins that fight, that would put us heading into 2027. That's the time you make the David Benavidez fight. But trying to push for Ben Whittaker to go get a big fight with Benavidez, which I get it, it would sell great, whether you put them in the UK, which David Benavidez recently said he would like to do, or the USA, but it's not a competitive fight. Don't get that twisted. And so if I were them, I would position this fight to happen in 2027, work their way up, and Ben Whittaker, if he does the job of winning all these fights, then sure, let him have a shot at David Benavidez. But don't put him in the ring with the monster yet. He's not ready for that, and I promise it would not be a good showing. Here's some heavyweight news. Richard Torrez Jr. has agreed to participate in the IBF final eliminator versus Frank Sanchez, and the sides were formally ordered to begin negotiations. They have until December 17th to make a deal, or a purse bid will be scheduled at a 50-50 split. Hats off to Richard Torrez Jr. for doing this fight. I've been saying this all along. The IBF has been a very weird situation. Frank Sanchez got himself in position to fight in this position for the mandatory. I don't know how, but it is what it is. And obviously, as I said, for many guys, it doesn't make sense for them. Frank Sanchez brings nothing to the table financially. It's not a big fight, and it's obviously a risk. He is still a solid fighter. And so it only made sense for a few different guys. I always said Richard Torrez Jr. and Jared Anderson were the two guys I looked at and said, you know what? These guys could take that fight. Why? Because they're young. If they lose, they can rebuild themselves up quite quickly. And two, they don't have a lot of other opportunities. At some point, these guys need to make the big move and say, I'm ready to make my statement. I can go fight against the top guys, and we'll progress at that point in time. Richard Torrez Jr. has now gotten himself in this situation. I think it's an opportunity. If he wins this fight, well, he's now going to be the mandatory for the belt with Usyk at the IBF. Massive for him. If not, then he obviously progresses and continues to rebuild himself up, and he'll be back in position in the future. So I love this opportunity. Hats off to Richard Torrez Jr. I'm excited to see it. I'll be honest. I actually give the edge to Richard Torrez Jr. at this moment in time. I thought the fight earlier this year against Vanilla, he looked solid. It was good. He obviously started off great, and in a great middle rounds were a little bit rough there. But if he can bounce back now, obviously had a great performance a couple weeks ago, but that was against a trash can. But if he can bounce back, I'm intrigued to see this fight happen. I think Richard Torrez Jr. could emerge victorious over Frank Sanchez. Going back to the WBC convention, they are now set to order Moses ITAUMA versus Lawrence Okolie. So, let me see this real quick. WBC set to order Moses ITAUMA versus Lawrence Okolie. The WBC has confirmed that they plan to order a final eliminator between Lawrence Okolie and Moses ITAUMA. Alexander Usyk is the WBC heavyweight champion and has been granted a voluntary defense. Ajiet Kabayel holds the interim title. Okay, lots to unpack here. So this kind of gets into the talk in regards to Usyk and Deontay Wilder and that whole situation, which I'll kind of wrap up the show talking about. But he's been granted his voluntary defense. I'm all for that. I've got no issues with it. When you look at this, Ajiet Kabayel, and the reason I don't have any issue with that is Kabayel already has a homecoming in Germany planned for himself. So you can cross it off the list right there. Kabayel, who is currently going to be the man that would have that shot against Usyk as the interim, he's already got his fight lined up in January. So if Usyk wants to do a fight with Wilder in the first quarter of 2026, so be it. Not a big problem whatsoever. If you are in this position, though, you're going to have an opportunity now for the mandatory. Lots of belts. It's the way the WBC works. I'm gonna blast them quite shortly with the boot situation, the Bud situation. But yes, the WBC has confirmed this. Lawrence Okolie and Moses ITAUMA. I love this. If you're Moses ITAUMA, this is the right type of step-up fight. Okolie is a solid fighter, but I think we can all admit that Lawrence Okolie is in that just contender kind of status. He's not a legitimate top contender threat, but he's a good competitive fighter. And if you're Moses ITAUMA, this is the man you should want to go after. Funny story, it's been told before, and I believe it was Andy Clark that was on the show before talking about this, that Lawrence Okolie sparred Moses ITAUMA, and he said before he does not want to fight the man in the ring. Well, he might have to fight him in the ring now. So we'll see what happens here. I think ITAUMA would win this fight. Lines him up for possibly a big showdown against ITAUMA and Kabayel, which I'd love to see that fight happen. And for Usyk, he's just going to sit around waiting and fight Wilder and then possibly go after the undisputed route once again in the future. So we'll see what happens there. Here's what I really want to get into, though. Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Bud Crawford has been stripped of his WBC title. Terrence Bud Crawford has been stripped of his WBC super middleweight title for not paying sanctioning fees for his last two bouts. The WBC has now ordered Hamza Shiraz to face Christian Mbili for a vacant title. All right. After that, Bud Crawford went on X and he went ballistic on social media, ripping into the WBC and videos. He's ripped into a lot of fans about different topics, so on and so forth. Let me say this. Terrence Bud Crawford has every right in the world to be pissed off and not pay those sanctioning fees by the WBC. Listen, the WBC was positioned at one point in time to be the dominant belt, to be the superior belt over the three other belts out there. Now, everything kind of became a train wreck. Suleiman came in and he did not uphold the standards of the WBC. He put the sanctioning body into a very weird position. And guess what? If you're Terrence Bud Crawford, why would you want to pay those sanctioning fees? They're massive. They're enormous. All to just hold on to somebody's belt? You became the champion. I've never been for these guys having to pay sanctioning fees, especially when there is no clarity on where the money ever goes. So if you're Terrence Bud Crawford, you are darn right. He is undisputed champion. He beat Canelo. We all saw it. We all know it. The WBC wanting to make this man pay money to hold on to a belt is ridiculous. And that goes for everybody, in fact. But if you're Terrence Bud Crawford specifically, talk your talk. Terrence Bud Crawford was blackballed for so long in the boxing world, never given his respect. Nobody wanted to give him his proper due respect. And yet, he persevered through it all. He proved everybody wrong. He showed that he's the best fighter of this generation. And if you're Terrence Bud Crawford, he has every right in the world to talk that talk and not pay those sanctioning fees. And guess what? Terrence Bud Crawford's right. He's got the ring belt. At this point in time, that's the only one that really matters. We know he's undisputed. You can't take that away from him. And so if you're Bud Crawford, why would he ever care? Who cares that what just happened? He'll move on. I don't blame him for not paying the sanctioning fees. He's going to do what he wants to do. He can talk the talk that he wants to do. And guess what? The WBC honestly deserves it. They deserve all the criticism coming their way because what they're doing right now and the way that they've been ran is ridiculous. There's a lot of rightful critique from a business standpoint within that company. It's not been good. And for you being Terrence Bud Crawford, it is what it is. You don't have the WBC belt any longer. Hamza Shiraz and Billy will fight each other for it. You move on with your business. You can talk that talk because he's earned the right to do so. I do want to transition, though, into this situation where we now do have Hamza Shiraz and Christian Billy fighting for the vacant WBC title. I love it. Listen, Hamza Shiraz has world championship shot against Carlos Adames. Against his fight against Carlos Adames. That was a very interesting fight right there, to say the least. But whatever. Now we've moved to 168. He's going to fight Christian Billy. Now, I would favor Christian Billy in this fight in the way too early predictions. I would. I like Christian Billy. I think his aggressiveness is going to be a tough man to fight. I don't see the way he took this punch from Lester Martinez. I'm not sure there's going to be a route where Hamza Shiraz possibly knocks him out. We'll see what happens. Anything can happen in boxing, but that man is a warrior inside that ring. So in Billy, Hamza Shiraz is a fight to make. I love this fight. I think both are going to be world champions at 168 at some point in time. Love the fight that they booked right there. Jerome Boots Ennis and Vergil Ortiz could soon be agreed upon. Golden Boy, the promoter for Vergil Ortiz Jr., confirmed at the WBC convention that Ortiz is in talks to face Jerome Boots Ennis next, and the fight could be made by next week. Per Nevada State Athletic Commission calendar, Ennis versus Ortiz will be March 28th, Las Vegas, MGM Grand Arena. The WBC has announced the winner of Vergil Ortiz, Jerome Boots Ennis, WBC interim title must fight the winner of Sebastian Fundora versus Keith Thurman for the WBC championship belt. Here's the deal at hand. If American boxing gets Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson on top of Jerome Boots Ennis and Vergil Ortiz in the same calendar year, it will be one of the greatest years for American boxing that we've ever heard of and seen. Why? When is the last time that we've had two guys in their physical prime, elite fighters, both fights involving two guys ranked within the top 10 or 15 fighters in all the world, fight each other? Crickets. We don't know when. It's been a long, long time. And so if you are standing foot here in America and we get a witness two of the best fighters in all the world, in Teo and Shakur, go out and fight on January 31st. And now it is being rumored that on March 28th, Boots Ennis and Vergil Ortiz will step foot in the ring. We are looking at a situation where we will see just that. Two fighters fighting each other in their physical prime, and it's going to happen twice. I would be absolutely ecstatic to see this happen. I think it would be huge for American boxing. This is what we've been waiting for a very long time. And if you are these two guys, it is about time to make this fight happen. I'm glad to hear the rumors are coming true, that March 28th is likely going to be the date where we have Boots Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz, and it better happen. Because if we get on March 28th Vergil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis, we're going to have a fight that I truly do believe has a chance to trickle down into a possible trilogy down the road. I think both these guys will become world champion at 154 at some point or another. Both guys are going to be two of the top fighters for the next, call it 5 to 6, 7, 8 years. These two guys are going to be faces of boxing going forward. This is not a fight where the loser of this fight is not going to be heard of any longer. No, both guys will win this fight. Both guys are going to have themselves grow in brand and name recognition. I think it's going to be a tremendous fight that I truly do believe has a chance to go down as a trilogy type of fight. And so if I'm looking at these two guys, make the fight happen now. You guys can rematch later on in the future where it's going to be a situation where you guys possibly come together for world championship unification, whatever the case may be. This is a fight that needs to happen in 2026, and my gut feeling is we're going to see this fight happen for many years to come. So, Boots, Vergil Ortiz, March 28th, it sounds like it's going to happen in Las Vegas. This is going to be a one heck of a showdown. One of the best and biggest fights that you can possibly make in boxing will be coming to America in spring of 2026. All right, going back to the Usyk and Bronze Bomber situation. Lance Pugmere, he says this. He was told that Usyk and Deontay Wilder fight is being targeted for the first half of 2026 in the U.S. Usyk has not fought in the U.S. since stopping Chaz Witherspoon in Chicago in 2019. The Vegas and Texas are the top site choices. I already said this. My take on this. I'm all for this fight happening. I love it. I think if you're Usyk, you know Usyk versus Wilder sells. If you're Usyk, you know for a fact that this is another name to add to your resume. The three big names at heavyweight that everyone thought dominated the era, Fury, AJ, and Wilder. Obviously, Usyk came in. He can officially take them all out. And on top of that, we all know Wilder has a great equalizer. We all know Deontay Wilder has a chance to knock anybody out that steps foot in the ring. Is Deontay Wilder past his prime? No doubt about that. But if you are Deontay Wilder, this is your golden opportunity, your last big payday, or maybe even his chance to redeem himself and have one of the most historic knockouts in the history of boxing. This fight's intriguing, and it will sell great. So if you're these two guys, I honestly have no problem with it. And all these people out there complaining about it, so be it. He already vacated one of the belts. Let him do a voluntary defense. He'll come back and defend against who he needs to defend it against. Usyk's already taking care of everybody at heavyweight. Let's stop being hypocritical here and acting like there are these great heavyweight prospects that he needs to go defend his belt against. Khabib already has a fight booked and lined up in January. Bobby Wardley, I don't think he really earned a shot at Usyk yet, but even though if he did, he is a world champion. So be it. My point is this. Let's stop putting the pressure on Usyk to do these other things. Now, he can do one voluntary defense. After that, let's put the pressure back on him. But for the time being, so be it. Usyk, Wilder, 2026, book it, make it happen. I think it's going to be a great, fun, exciting build-up process, and I think Usyk will win that fight quite easily. But if he doesn't, then guess what? We're going to witness one of the greatest KOs in the history of boxing by the Bronze Bomber. So sit back and enjoy that show. Other news came out from the WBC convention. HERRERA-NUNEZ for the WBC interim. The WBC has ruled that Shakur Stevenson can keep his WBC lightweight title as he moves up to fight Teofimo Lopez for the WBO super lightweight belt. The final eliminator between Javier Herrera and Ricardo Nunez will now be for the WBC interim lightweight title. Previously held by Williams Zepeda. Obviously, Shakur took care of business there. And so now we're in a position where these two guys will fight for the interim. Solid fight. Not sure we'll ever see either one fight Shakur Stevenson, because I think Shakur would make easy work of them. But that's the situation at hand currently. Dimitri Bivol update we have now. Bivol could fight mandatory next. Eddie Hearn on Dimitri Bivol's next fight. The first fight back may be a smaller fight than the Art to Better BF trilogy. Maybe one of his mandatory defenses. He's got quite a few of them. One is Callum Smith. One is Michael Eifert. WBA, I think, has a mandatory as well. He would have been out of the ring. He wouldn't fight before March. So he would have been out of the ring for a year and would have had a couple of operations. So update on Dimitri Bivol. Obviously, that golden year plan I talked about on Monday's show. Probably not going to happen now. But either way, go out there defending against Callum Smith, which would be a phenomenal fight. Michael Eifert, easy work there. But why not have it happen? Bivol can get back summertime, give the Trojan Art to Better BF. Now, it does suck for Art to Better BF. Man, just sitting out, waiting for Dimitri Bivol, and he's getting older and older. So, kind of a tough situation. Hopefully, we just get the trilogy over with, make it happen, and hopefully we get that at least summertime of 2026, but we'll see what happens there. The WBC has declared 140-pound champion Subriel Matias not guilty after he tested positive for trace amounts of Austrian in his system. His title defense against Dalton Smith will go ahead on January 10th, but Matias will be placed on probation for 1 year and undergo further testing between now and the contest. So it comes true, which is why I always do say I'm not going to slander a man until he officially gets convicted of it. And the Beast Hammer comes back. We learn more about Subriel Matias. It was probably just being contaminated. It is what it is, not enough to really affect him too much. And now that fight goes ahead with Dalton Smith, I think it's better for Dalton Smith as well. And then he's going to be put on probation. So that's the situation at hand. I'm glad the fight's not getting axed. Glad we get to see that fight on January 10th. I'll talk about the Elijah Garcia situation, which is ridiculous. And then another fight update news is that Bruce Carrington, SchuZ Show, he will defend his interim title on January 31st versus Carlos Castro. But on which fight card is the only question. Obviously, January 31st, talk about this on Monday, you have got endless opportunities. Adam Azim, That fight's going to be going down. You have Shakur versus Teofimo Lopez. That fight's going down. You've got the PBC rumor card of Manny Pacquiao, Roy Romero. That's going down. Bakhmut Zavaliev and Josh Kelly. That's going down. So the situation at hand is that Bruce Carrington could be on any of those cards. I would assume it would either be the PBC or the Shakur Tia one. If I were to make a guess, I'd say with it being an Madison Square Garden, that for Bruce Carrington, that would make perfect sense for him, being obviously the hometown New York guy. That's where I would kind of think he'd be placed on, but lots of opportunities. Also, Bas Barao and Xander Zayas is on the table as well, that being a top-ranked card. So Carrington could be on any of these cards, but his return will be coming up on January 31st against Carlos Castro. All right, before I wrap today's show, I'm going to go through the comments real quick, see what we got going on here. Yes, that is accurate. I appreciate you for tuning in first and foremost, but yes, the Boots, Ennis, and Ortiz fight is close to being finalized. I actually just got done talking about that maybe about 10 minutes or so ago. But yes, it seems that March 28th is going to be the day that that fight goes down. Obviously, I talked about this. This is going to be a huge fight. So in Las Vegas, March 28th is supposed to be booked, at least rumored to be booked, and we'll see those guys possibly go down there. Also, the winner, as I talked about earlier, too, will have to face Keith Thurman versus Fundora winner. And I'll be honest with you, everybody, I think the winner of Boots Vergil Ortiz would have their way with Fundora. Not that Fundora is bad, but let's be honest, I just think that Vergil and Boots are legitimate top 10 type talents in mall boxing right now. And so Fundora is not in that category, but it would be a fun fight regardless. I see another comment coming in. Let's see what we got here. All right. So I actually just got done talking about this as well. With the news coming out, I'm not sure if you saw this as well, but it is now, yes, Richard Torrez Jr. I see the second comment come up now. Yes, you are 100% accurate. Yes, Richard Torrez Jr. is now going, and not only that, it's not only in his hands, he actually agreed to it today. The exact report, I'm going to go back here in my notes and pull it back up. Yes, so it's officially locked in that Frank Sanchez and Torrez Jr. now are in discussions. They have until December 17th to make a deal, or purse bids will be scheduled for a 50-50 split. I believe this is going to be the one that goes down. But the reason you asked the first question there as to why no one wants to fight Frank Sanchez, and it's a little bit complex situation. Just to be brutally honest, I like Frank Sanchez as a talent, but it's one of those situations where not many people know about him. If you put his name up on a poster, you're going to get no money. And that's the big problem. He's a talented fighter that brings in no revenue. And this is a business. And so for a lot of these guys, as you listed here, Jared Anderson should have taken the fight, but Mosey Toma, Daniel Dubois, Zheli Zhang, UNFiltered, I believe, also turned it down. All those guys were guys that could get paid a lot more money and not go in the risk with the guy like Frank Sanchez. So it made sense for a guy like Richard Torrez Jr. or Jared Anderson, because for them, if they lose that fight, they're young enough to rebuild themselves back up. If they win the fight, you obviously are in the title eliminator situation. You've now defeated Frank Sanchez. You take that risk and you take care of it. But the biggest thing is money. And when you talk about a guy like Frank Sanchez, I don't know how he got in this position anyways, but that's another story for another time. But I just think it's a weird situation where he brings in no money and he's a risk at the same time. Very similar to what we see with Bakhmut Zavaliev right now. Obviously, he's world champion, so he has that going for him. But they have no branding, no name, no money. Janibek, same story, and he obviously blew that opportunity. But a lot of these guys, if you don't know how to brand yourself, if you can't make money, a lot of guys don't want to fight you. And people will say that why are they ducking them? It's not really ducking. It's just a business decision. Why do we see guys like Ryan Garcia get a world championship shot against Mario Barrios right away? Because he makes money. Likewise, why is Conor Benn in position for the mandatory to go fight the winner Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia? Because they make money. Boxing is a business. You have to make money. And too many of these guys, unfortunately, they're just not making money anymore. And if you can't go produce revenue for these guys, why risk it? Richard Torrez Jr. has a good deal with Top Rank, as does Jared Anderson, but they can afford that loss. Daniel Dubois, he would have taken that. And now Daniel Dubois would have taken that fight. He switched over, though, because now you have the opportunity to fight Fabio Wardley, so he's going to go after that route. So hopefully that all makes sense. But yes, that is why Frank Sanchez is not taking on that fight and why we're in the situation we currently are in now with the IBF. But I think Richard Torrez Jr. will solidify that deal. It makes the most sense for him to take it. And so we'll see when it gets done, but we should have more information on that within the next week or two. I said December 17th, so that puts us right at 2 weeks. So we should have information on that as well. But I appreciate you for tuning in, man. God bless you. Hopefully you have a great rest of your guys' night as well. With that being said, I see no more comments in the comment section, so we'll be wrapping up today's show with that. I will be not live. I'll be live tomorrow, but not on the SchuZ Show. It's actually going to be a show. I'm going to be collabing with somebody who I will be promoting that tomorrow, so tune into that show. And then on Friday, I will be back live. Lots of to preview on Friday's show. We obviously will have probably some more boxing news come out, but on top of that, we will have a fight preview of all the PBC stuff going down. You have a UK card going down and Jai Pataya all fighting this weekend. All that will be broken down and previewed on Friday's show. So tune in then to hear that. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in today's show. May God bless you guys all, and I will see you guys back live on Friday's show. I'll see you guys on Friday. God bless you guys all. With that being said, SchuZ out. God bless y'all.